All right, we are on to another topic that is very heavy on vocabulary. It is the types of quadrilaterals. Types of quadrilaterals. I wondered when we would get to my favorite vocabulary word, which is adjacent. Adjacent means nearby or close to. Okay, so in this figure, these lines are adjacent to one another. They are close by each other. All right. Another word that you need to know for this lesson is characteristics. And characteristics are the features of an item or specifically a figure that sets something apart. Features used to describe so that we know what it is. For instance, if I told you that Mrs. Cito is a kind and caring teacher with blondish brown hair and hazel eyes, those are the characteristics of Mrs. Cito that we would use to describe her. If you like her, you may think she's mean, but we would use those characteristics so that people would know who or what we are talking about. A kite. How many of you like to fly a kite? A kite is a quadrilateral that has two pairs of adjacent sides, so two pairs, with sides in each pair equal to each other. It has one pair of opposite angles that are equal to each other. Pair of equal opposite angles. All right, so let me show you what that would look like, because that's a lot of a description, but a kite really does just look like a kite that you would fly. So you're going to have something that looks like this, and then you're going to have something that maybe looks like this. So you have two pairs of lines. One pair of lines is this pair right here. That signifies a pair of lines that are equal to each other. And then this pair of lines is equal to each other. And then opposite angles are equal to each other. So it looks like a really angry mouse, but that ultimately is a kite. Two pairs of adjacent sides, remember adjacent means next to each other, with the sides in each pair equal to each other. So these are equal length, these are equal length. And then it has one pair of equal opposite angles. I know that that's a lot of wording, and it's definitely hard to understand when you're only looking at the words. So we discussed earlier that parallel means that lines never touch, they never cross, and they stay the same distance apart. So we're going to look at a parallelogram. And a parallelogram is a quadrilateral. Remember, the word quadrilateral means it has four sides and four angles. And it has opposite sides of equal length. Length, Length, parallel to each other. And it has opposite angles equal to each other. All right, so if we look at this right here, we could see that this side and this side are the same length and they're parallel to each other. They'll never touch each other. They run this way. And we see that this side and this side are equal length and they run parallel to each other and they'll never touch. And we can see that each one of our corners is a right angle. Each one of our corners is a right angle. All right. Another one that is a quadrilateral that is also a parallelogram is a rhombus. So that was a rectangle. A rhombus looks a little bit like this. And again, we have opposite sides that are the same length that run parallel. And then we also have opposite angles that are equal to each other. So these two angles are equal and these two angles are equal. That is a rhombus, which is also a parallelogram. Remember that we've talked about quadrilateral before, but a quadrilateral is just a polygon that has four sides and four angles. I'm not going to rewrite that definition because you should have that from previous notes. Let's see. Let's talk about the different kinds of shapes that we're going to be dealing with. So we're going to start out with, let's start with rectangle. So a rectangle is a parallelogram. with 4 right angles. Having opposite sides, so opposite sides are equal and parallel. Okay, so just like I showed you in the previous one, this is a rectangle. And believe it or not, this is a rectangle. And again, pretend like in a perfect world, they're all the same size on that one. All right, a rhombus. Rhombus is the next one we're going to look at. And a rhombus is a parallelogram. And it has four equal sides. And opposite angles are equal to each other. All right, so that is a rhombus, just like we had talked about before. Next, we have a square. And a square is considered a rectangle. A rectangle is not always considered a square, but a square is considered a rectangle with all 4 sides equal and all 90-degree angles. Okay. Finally, last but not least, we're going to talk about a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral. Usually one pair of opposite sides that are parallel. And angles that are not equal. So common trapezoids might look like this. You might have one that has a right angle, and then it comes down like this. And I'm sorry, my points are not very distinct on that. So let's look at a couple of things that you need to know. So let's start with four-sided polygons, okay? Four-sided polygons, remember that four-sided polygons are called quadrilaterals, all right? So we have some quadrilaterals that are parallelograms and some that are not. So we're going to start out with our quadrilateral parallelograms. And there are some important symbols that you need to know. So something that looks like this or this show equal signs or equal sides. If you see a little box in the corner, it means that there's a right angle. And just like I've shown you before, you might see either a roundy round or a double roundy round. So it might look like that, or it might look like this. And these are equal angles. It helps us identify which angles and which sides are equal to one another in our figures that we're going to be working with. So let's first work with a square. All right, so we're going to use this line right here. These are our quadrilaterals and parallelograms, so I'm going to do them all in purple. This is showing you that all four sides are equal, and this is going to show you that all four angles are 90-degree angles. Okay, here's our parallelogram that is a rhombus. All right, so for a rhombus, all of our sides are equal sides. And these are the angles that match. And these angles match. So notice the ones with only one curve are the ones that match, and the ones with two curves match each other. All right, and then we have our rectangle. So we have two sides that match, two sides that match, and then we have four right angles. So these are our quadrilateral parallelograms. Okay, now there's another distinction that is just quadrilaterals. They're not parallelograms. So in this one we have a square, a rhombus, and a rectangle. All right, so now we have some that are just quadrilaterals. They are not parallelograms. And again, with the trapezoid, it may not have any matching sides. It may not have any matching angles. It just depends on the shape. So there's a trapezoid right there. The next image that we're going to work with is going to be a kite. Remember that a kite has two adjacent lines that are equal, two pairs of adjacent lines that are equal, and it has one set of angles that are equal. And I know it may look like these two angles are equal, but there's a little bit of a difference in the degrees if we were to go in and measure it. So this is a kite, and this is a trapezoid.